All right, let's now get into our New York Giants 7-round mock draft 2.0, highly anticipated by us. Very excited to get into it. And I would say, to already give us not credit, but just a little statement in the beginning, I think this mock draft is a little bit more realistic than the last one we did. No Stetson Bennett, 6th-round picks. That was my
You
big
hate
one
that
there.
pick. Why do you hate
I
that
hate
pick so
that
much?
pick because the Giants aren't picking a QB in this draft, and we can bet money on it. We can just talk about it right here. I don't care. If they draft a QB, Alex, I don't know how I'm going to react to it, but you can definitely laugh in my face when it happens. And but I'm happy to bet on that right now. Anyway, that's not the point because there is no QB in this mock draft, I should say. But we are really excited to get into it. And Alex, without further ado, should we just hop into it and go to pick 25?
I think we should just hop right into it. Pick 25, what everyone's talking about. I wish the kind of norm with these mock drafts is that you'd go from like round 7 to round 1. So it's like all high anticipation. But unfortunately, that's not how the draft works. So everyone gets the excitement right in the beginning. But, I actually find personally that the 7th round picks are pretty exciting. I know most people do not agree with that. But anyway, I'll let you, Josh, announce it. I know I'm throwing it back to you now, but I feel like this is so bad, big. I need to kind of raise anticipation now. Get everyone, excited for this.
I should have our old picks in front of me. Do you remember offhand who was in our 1.0 at 25?
Yes, I do remember. It was Deonte Banks, cornerback, Maryland. And this time we go the
and this
opposite.
time at pick 25, it is Zay Flowers, the quarterback out of Boston College, 22 years old. I'm not going to go crazy into him. If you want crazy into him, go to and listen, or I think it's on YouTube as well. You can watch our wide receiver breakdown of the top players at that position. But I will say is that he led Boston College in receiving yards of all time, their all-time leader. 3,056 yards, and this past season, 78 catches, 1,077 yards, and 12 touchdowns. And his route running ability is the perk with Flowers. He's been linked to the Giants a little bit. He's been on their mock drafts from news sources around the NFL, as well as he's met with them specifically. So definitely connections with the team, and a lot of guys here connections with the team. I would say not a lot, but a couple. Because there's not like a lot of picks. There's like only, 10 or something like that. So a couple of these guys definitely linked directly with the Giants, meaning they have met with, and then I'm sure Alex influenced your decision to pick them if they were available. Anyway, that is pick number 1 in this draft. Pick number 25 specifically, Zay Flowers, BC.
Yeah, I mean, Flowers is a guy, he's got great agility. He's really strong for someone of his stature. He's a great separator as well. We've seen that in his time at Boston College. He's shifty. He's a playmaker. When you get the ball in his hands, he can be really, really effective. And I know Giants fans everywhere have talked about him. So, like you said, Josh, we're not going to get too much into him. But I do think the interest in Zay Flowers, they met with him at the Combine. They're meeting with him tomorrow as we record this for his top 30 visit. I think the interest in the receivers is real. And I think the interest in Zay Flowers is real. Is he the prototypical alpha number 1 receiver that you look for, that we're all looking for Daniel Jones? No, but it's not all about size, as Joe Schoen has put it many times. It's about separation and kind of the other qualities. For example, I know people love using this stat. Josh Downs, another wide receiver prospect, he's only 5'10", but he is the best contested catch receiver in this class statistically. So that is something interesting, right? He's a 5'10", 170 odd something pounds, and he is the best contested catch receiver in this class. And there are multiple, taller, bigger receivers than him. So it's not always all about size with
Alex.
him.
Did you curve under the pressure here of a couple comments that our Giants wide receiver in the last one was not picked until, I believe, round 4 with the Bearcat, Tyler Scott, right?
It was round 3. It was round 3, right?
Okay.
I think so. Well, what was? Oh, because I got some hate for that, didn't I?
Not some hate, but they were like, the Giants fans want their clear number 1 wide receiver, and I completely understand that. Notice how we also shied away from a guy like Jalen Hyde in this pick. Definitely a guy to shy away from for the Giants, even though they're meeting with him. And I love Jalen Hyde. I mean, I'm hopefully going to root for him if he doesn't go to a rival NFC East team. Like basically, if he doesn't go to the Cowboys or the Eagles, I'll be able to root for him. So let's hope that happens. And of course, that'll probably happen. Anyway, Hyatt's another slot guy. We have enough slot guys. I mean, this wide receiver room is filled with slot guys. You look at probably Sterling Shepard now as he gets older here, can't play the outside as well as he did. You look at Wan'Dale Robinson. He was drafted to play the slot. We had Kadarius Toney, who was a slot wide receiver. Obviously, he's not here anymore. You signed Paris Campbell. He's a slot wide receiver. So we don't need another slot guy. I'll just say that. So you notice that's why Zay Flowers is here and not Jalin Hyatt. All right. It is the first pick. So obviously we got to talk about a little bit more than all the other ones. And then the talking kind of goes down as we go along with less information on each one. So let's not talk forever about Flowers here. Alex, I'll hand the mic, pass the mic to you, even though we both have mics. So you can talk about pick number 57 in the second round for the Giants.
All right, pick number 57. This is a player that kind of was really, talked about a lot, I think, earlier in the draft cycle, pre-combine, pre-pro days. And that player is Tyrique Stevenson out of Miami. He's 6 foot, almost 200 pounds, 198. He is your prototypical man corner, a perfect fit for the Wink Martindale scheme. When you're looking in the second round here, of corners, obviously your top 3 guys are going to be off the board at this point. I believe Ringo, Banks were both off the board. I believe the only options at this pick were Cam Smith, Julius Brents, and then Stevenson, obviously, who I was talking about. DJ Turner actually was off the board as well, that corner out of Michigan that I know Mel Kiper is really, really high on. But the reason I chose Stevenson is I think in terms of man coverage, he's the best player at least at this current time, out of the guys I just mentioned. Yes, he doesn't have the size of Brents, who's 6'4". Yes, he doesn't have the versatility maybe in zone coverage that Cam Smith has in terms of his ability in that. But I think overall, as a overall corner, I know I just said overall twice in a row, I think, Stevenson is a really, really good prospect and someone who's kind of, faltered due to the insane testing of players like DJ Turner, who ran a 4.26 at the combine, even though Stevenson did run a 4.45, excuse me. And he's got great long arms. He's a great press corner. He's got quick hands. His ball skills are very good as well. And overall, he's definitely, not the best tackler. He definitely gets a little bit too grabby as well. Penalties are an issue for him, but that's a lot of stuff that you can clean up. That's more technique based. Overall, his physical attributes, his length, his speed, and his instincts overall pretty good. And I think he's the best fit here. And the Giants need a cornerback number 2 badly.
And Alex, CB2, I mean, we addressed 2, that's what the draft is for, right? But we addressed 2 needs with these, and 2 big needs. We need a wide receiver, and we need a CB2. We have a Dory Jackson right now. And besides that, we got a couple guys, again, who can play one position. And then, we talked about slot wide receiver. This is kind of like that nickel cornerback role, which is what I would call the slot wide receiver of, if you want to flip it to cornerback, right? Because they're in that kind of slot position, just at the cornerback position. Stevenson's perfect to not do that and play the outside at 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. He's like kind of the perfect build for an outside guy to play across the field from Adoree Jackson. But you look at Holmes, we have him. Isn't Cordell Flott also a nickel kind of guy? And then
flexible, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then you look at oh my gosh, what is it? Oruwariye is the guy we signed from the Lions.
Yeah, he's outside. He's outside pretty much.
He's outside, but we don't even know what he's going to be yet because he had that really productive year 2 seasons ago, and then last year was benched. So we have no idea. You can't really expect anything from him right now. You need to address that outside position, and it would be nice if we get an outside guy here early on in the draft. So then Oruwariye can at least be the 3rd string at that position, and we kind of know what we have at those 2 outside with Jackson and Stevenson if this works out. All right, we ready to move to 3 now? Let's go to 89, 3rd round, and we address the offensive lineman early again. We did it last time in round 2, a talk there, and we even talked with Trevor Sikkema of PFF about it. He agreed that John Michael Schmitz, he's not going to be there 57, excuse me. So we wiped it off. Will this guy even be there at 89? We'll see. But we got interior offensive lineman, or more specifically, the center position is what he would be playing for the New York Giants. Joe Tipman.
It's my fault. I'm sorry.
It's so your fault. Alex, when we interviewed Sycamore, put in the outline Tipperman, because that's what he thought his name was. So I said it, and now it's not leaving my head. His name is Joe Tipman, and he's a guard, interior offensive lineman, out of Wisconsin. And I'm leaving it at that. Center, interior offensive lineman. It's the same.
Josh is
thing.
imagining different people now that I messed up the name.
Oh,
I mean, Tipman's interesting because he's a tall center. He's 6'6". Obviously, we're a little bit used to tall centers. Nick Gates was 6'5" when he played center with us. Not this past season, but the season before he got injured. He's definitely a really, really solid in terms of his technique, but his size could be an issue. Guys can get under him, the more shifty defensive tackles. He's definitely a good pass protector. He's solid in the run game as well. His agility is not great because of his size. He's a little bit underweight considering his size at 317. And his discipline in terms of holding penalties and other penalties as well, even in the run game, are definitely concerns as well. And he plays too high. That's also a concern with Tipman. But I kind of feel like, you look at the attributes that are there. Maybe he transitions to guard at the next level if center doesn't work out. We saw O-line coach Bobby Johnson working him out at his pro day. So that was one reason I was keeping an eye on Tipman in all of these drafts. So I do think at this point, there was only Tipman and Olu, as I was calling him, the center from Michigan, Oluwatimi, I believe it is. There, I nailed the name. Don't worry about it. Oluwatimi. There we go. I didn't nail it. And he was the only one there. I kind of have Tipman a little bit above Oluwatimi in my, I guess, personal view of these centers. So I chose him. That's pretty much as simple as it is. I did hear you say, is he going to be there? Centers do tend to drop every single year. I don't think John Michael Schmitz is going to drop, but I do think that Tipman could be a candidate to drop. And he is projected more late second, early third. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibility that he drops to the late third.
Alex, if you want me to go back to back, I'm perfectly fine with doing that, but it is your turn. I want to respect it.
I know. I just felt like I was talking for so long. I just needed a break. But yeah, sure. I'll go back here, I guess, for my turn. I'm not going back to back. The next player we got here is Tyjae Spears out of Tulane. Smaller running back, only 5'10".
Is it Tyjae? Have we been saying
TJ? Tyjae. Josh, help, please.
I think it's TJ. I don't know why we would switch it to Tyjae. But
I'm switching it. TJ.
You're switching it back now because I said TJ originally. He's doing some reverse psychology on me. I don't like this. The Tipman, you're the messing with my head here. I feel like this is like I was watching Black Mirror on Netflix. This seems like a Black Mirror episode. You're messing with my head, Alex. I don't like this for any of you people who watch that show. That's really what this feels like. But anyway, go back to pick 28, Spears. Just call him Spears.
All right. Pick 128. I'm restarting the whole thing. Pick 128, running back out of Tulane, TJ Spears. I got to go for it. Sorry. I need to say the full name at least once. Sorry, Josh. Only 5'10", 201, a smaller running back. He's kind of more a receiving back in terms of what you look at him, his elite traits. He's an elite receiver. He's a great route runner, been compared to some of the better receivers in this class as a route runner. He's got great hands as well. He's got good feet. In terms of the run game, he's more of an outside runner. He's not going to be your ground and pound type of guy who's going to, run up the middle for 4 yards. He's more of a dancer, almost like Saquon Barkley. But in terms of what he can do in the passing game and kind of some more interesting design runs, I think he'd fit perfectly in this Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka offense. Kind of take some of that receiving load off of Saquon Barkley, which we saw was really heavy, especially last season when Brian Daboll got him more involved in that, portion of the offense. Overall, I think he's a good fit here. And in terms of the running backs on the board at the time, the Giants need a running back, and he was probably, he was definitely the best player on the board in my, opinion, obviously.
Yeah, and we talk about connections with the Giants. Spears actually met with them ahead of the NFL draft last month in the month of March. And I know some of you Giants fans will be saying, well, what's going on here? Why are you talking about a running back? We have Matt Breida. Yeah, we have Matt Breida. You're right. Correct. Matt Breida was signed to what I think was another 1-year deal. This guy is probably in his late 20s, if not 30s at this point, and they need a solidified backup running back. If Saquon Barkley ends up signing a deal, then we can just have our 1 and 2 guys be completely locked up for the next at least 3 or 4 years. Again, that depends. Obviously, if we draft a running back in like the 4th round, what we have here, he's not going to become the starter if Saquon doesn't sign with the Giants. But if Saquon does, then you have that 1-2 punch, and you have that for the next at least 3 or 4 years. So that's why we're picking a running back here. And Matt Breida did pretty well when he stepped in last season. Why not add a third guy to the running here? But when they went to the pro day, the Giants did at Tulane. That's when they met with Spears. So just wanted to put that out there. You already talked enough about him, Alex. So I'm going to go to Kobe Wooden. Defensive tackle, Auburn, 160 is the pick there. The Giants need help on their interior defensive line, and they get it here with Wooden. So, Alex, I don't know, do you have anything that you want to talk about specifically on him?
Yeah, so with Wooden, I was kind of looking for a defensive lineman. We know Joe Schoen wants defensive line depth. A defensive lineman who's kind of got some flexibility. He's a little bit undersized to be a pure defensive tackle, and he's a little bit too big to be a hands out of the dirt 3-4 outside linebacker there off the edge. I think I see him more as a 3-4 defensive end if I were to guess what his role would be in the NFL. But again, if he gains 15, 20 pounds of muscle, maybe he can be more of an interior guy. But he's just got great flexibility around the edge. He's got great power. In terms of his technique, it's not great. Mostly in college, with Auburn, he would just overpower his opponents with his strength. And that was really how he'd win. He doesn't exactly have the best bend, but, as a guy who knows how to get to the quarterback, he's got instincts. He's just so quick off the line. His use of his hands is not great. And yes, he maybe doesn't have the elite speed off the edge, but in terms of his instincts to getting to the quarterback, setting up, getting past blockers, he's got a great motor as well. I think overall there's a lot to work with Wooden, if that makes any sense. And I think, he's a nice gadget piece on that defensive line that maybe you can develop him into a true edge rusher, or maybe you develop him more into a defensive tackle, but he's got the skill set to possibly do both roles, and maybe could do both roles at a solid level in the NFL, or do one at a really elite level. All right, moving on to the next one. I know I keep messing up my role here. Round 5, we are moving on to now. Pick 172. We're getting into the past 150 here, and that's when you get to the exciting ones. Oh my God, I'm good.
You want me to step in?
Andre Iosivas.
Yoshivas, but yeah.
Yes, go. What were you going to say?
Go for it. No, you got it.
He is a burner. Yes, he didn't have the combine 40 time that we thought he was going to have. He only ran a 4.43, and of course I'm saying only. The Hawaiian wide receiver. I did not know that, by the way. He was born in Hawaii. Who knew? In case anyone's interested. 6'3", 205.
Look at the last name.
This is also true. He had a lot of production for Princeton. He's a pretty good route runner. He's got a decent catch radius as well. He's pretty quick off the line of scrimmage. He's got pretty reliable hands. And he's pretty, I guess he has the size for your prototypical alpha Z receiver. And I think that's what's really exciting about him. He's got all the physical traits. He didn't play against the best competition, obviously, with the Ivy League. He doesn't really have the best separation considering his speed as well, which is something Joe Schoen has emphasized. Obviously, he struggles against press coverage as well, limited route tree. And, those are the concerns with him. He's obviously a 5th-round receiver, so he's not going to be perfect, as we all know. Joe Schoen, Odell Beckham Jr.'s agent or something reached out or talked to Joe Schoen about Iosivas. So there's a connection there. Don't know if it's actually going to happen. I feel like we talk about this guy constantly. Josh, go ahead. I need to, you know what, from now on, I'm just going to pick people with easy names. Like Henry Smith. That's going to be like, I need to find someone like that.
It's the most basic Madden my player name I've ever heard.
Yeah,
I think that's,
there you go.
I know also like MLB The Show, when you did like a Road to the Show, the basic name that you could do, I think was like Joe No Name. Like that was his last name, No Name.
Yeah.
Like
we got a good guy coming up in a couple picks. He's got a good name. Easy for me to pronounce.
It does have a good name, and it's some irony there too. We'll get into that in a little bit. However, pick 209 now. We already talked about Iosivas enough, like you said. We mentioned him, I feel like, every couple episodes at this point with like visiting the Giants, talking to the Giants, whatever.
Giant take fan favorite, yeah.
I guess so. 209, Yaya Diaby. Another great name there. I think Alex at this point in the draft, it's getting late. He's just kind of looking here. Well, who's got a cool name? Oh, Yaya? All right, let's go for it. Edge out of Louisville. And you know what's funny? Even though he's picked 209, he played for Louisville, which is, like it's a D1 school. It's not like a D3. And it's also, he had good stats. I'm surprised he's not higher on this list. I guess the edge rushing class was just so dominant. 32 total tackles, 22 of them being solo tackles, 2 pass deflections. And then what stood out for me is 9 sacks. 9 sacks as an edge rusher is really good. So, again, I don't know why he's so low on this list. I guess, again, the edge rushers in this class are very good, and that's why he's so low here. But, yeah, that definitely stood out to me. And then when watching his highlights, the sacks that he did get were consistent and solid, and he's got some power there and some burst. And I was kind of blown away with how late he was drafted for his skill set, at least from the highlights, right? I mean, it's highlights for a reason. I don't know what his lowlights looked like. I'm not a huge Louisville football fan, so but yeah. So that's my thoughts on Diaby.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely had an interesting name, but that was not the reason I picked him for sure. I was kind of scrolling through. I was thinking at this point in time, we kind of need a pure edge rusher, and that is what Diaby is. He's, really high motor pass rusher, which is really what you need when talking more of a situational guy. He's a great tackler, like you mentioned. He's got good balance. He's got great burst as well. Technique definitely leaves something to be desired. Definitely uses more of his physical attributes to win, which is not going to be obviously as successful in the NFL. But like you said, 9 sacks, great production. Certainly an interesting player who I think is projected more to go 4th, 5th round rather than 6th round. But every single mock I did, he's always sitting there. He had a very smiley picture that he was looking at me with on the PFN mock draft. So, I think he's a solid pick here. Probably my favorite pick of this draft, this mock draft, I should say. And good value here. A little bit undersized for the position as well. That's something to keep in mind at only 6'3". This is a name I'm liking, Josh. Cam Jones at pick 240 in the 6th, or this is the 7th round, actually, excuse me. Linebacker out of Indiana. He is 6'1", 226. Not the most athletic guy. Only ran a 4.69. But he is certainly a very good blitzer, which I think is the main thing that people talk about with Jones, and I think that fits perfectly in Wink Martindale's system. He's not the fastest on the numbers, I guess you can say, 4.69 I just mentioned, but overall his in-game speed is actually a little bit quicker than that, and overall he's a good tackler as well. He definitely is a struggle, definitely struggles in pass coverage, and he definitely is not a lateral mover. He doesn't move well laterally, which is definitely something that's a concern for a linebacker. But I think as a special teams player, a worst case backup, linebacker for the Giants, Cam Jones. I think he could be decent, and that's all you're looking for in the 7th round.
And another easy name here. I picked 243. Alex is like, we already got one of them on the team. Let's just double it at this point. Cam Brown, cornerback out of Ohio State. Alex decided to press copy and paste, and here we are. Just a good linebacker and good cornerback in coverage. I'm still thinking of Jones. And I assume that's why he went with the pick. Doesn't have many stats. Again, played at a big school like Ohio State. Was able to see action there, which not many people can say who try and go and play football at a Big Ten school like the Ohio State University. However, not high in this draft. You're kind of just looking for the best guy available at this point, and Brown happened to be that close to the end of the draft. That's all I have to say about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good tackler, good in run support. I think that's his main aspect as a corner, which is kind of ironic considering he is a corner. But he's certainly, a strong player in press man coverage. Definitely struggles badly in zone, so that's going to be a concern. Luckily, Wink doesn't play too much zone, so maybe that's not an issue, but definitely more of a developmental guy, and that's really what you're looking for in the 7th round, obviously. And our final pick here, what is it? Pick 254. It's one of the last picks in the draft. It takes forever to do these 7th round picks. When you're going through them and mocking them, it takes forever. And at this point, I actually remember this vividly when I was creating this mock. I was sitting there probably for 30 minutes trying to figure out what this last pick was going to be because I had no idea. And I'm going to go, I did go with Nick Saldiveri. There we go. That's great. Saldiveri. There we go. Easy pronunciation. From Old Dominion, 6'6", 318 pounds, a tackle, can play guard as well. He is, kind of a guy who's got really good, awareness, football IQ. I think that's pretty much all I've read about him. He's got good footwork as well. Physicality wise, he's not, your crazy athlete. And that's why he's sitting here at pick 254. And he's definitely not the best pass protector either. Definitely stronger in the run game as well. So there's not really much to say about him. He's more of a body bring into the camp, good size for the position. Pretty much I was pretty desperate at this point.
And with that, with our last pick, let's just do the full quick recap here. Pick 25, Zay Flowers, wide receiver, Boston College. Pick 57, Tyreek Stevenson, cornerback, Miami. Pick 89, Joe Tippmann, center, Wisconsin. Pick 128, TJ Spears, running back, Tulane. Pick 160, Kobe Wooden, defensive tackle out of Auburn. 172 was Andre Yeshivash, a wide receiver out of Princeton. 209 was Yaya Diaby, edge out of Louisville. 240 was Cam Jones, linebacker, Indiana. Pick 243, Cam Brown, cornerback, The Ohio State University. And pick 254, the final pick of this mock draft, was Nick Saldiveri, guard/tackle from Old Dominion. And that's going to do it for our 2023 New York Giants 7-round mock draft 2.0.